Everybody, welcome to the self-guided troubleshooting course. This is going to take a little bit different shape. I don't have an official script for this. Part of that is it's a sort of unofficial process. So anytime you get a status that is not complete in the action in the show progress window, these are some steps to take that will help essentially save you time, submit a ticket earlier, or get to the intended outcome earlier. So let's start with the very first part, which is analyze the tracking request ID, workbook, and instance. Next, we'll talk about checking the instance setup and the credentials. Specifically, if you're a company admin or a consultant, you can do that. Third, if you don't have immediate feedback based on anything that you catch in the tracking request ID or by checking the instance details again, just try the action one more time. That typically is just a good thing to get in the habit of if there isn't a clear reason why the action didn't complete. And then also always feel free to submit a ticket to us in the tracking request ID. So let's start with just a couple of what the errors might be. We have this help desk article that you can search for called New Error Statuses for CodeBot. And so a few years ago, we tried to change how the bot logs an error, and these are some of the ideas that we came up with. Login failed, which is still the most common error that we get in CodeBot. Try a different password, or if you're using SSO, there's something in the instance setup that's not correct. That may also include the OAuth credentials or the API credentials. There could be a permission issue. The user that you have trying to execute an action might not have the correct permissions. And then there are things like data issues and general issues that we'll dig into a little bit more to kind of show what happens when you get that type of error. So let's look at this example. I've started to kind of gather some here together. So you can see here there's incomplete with general issue. I have run a configuration, and what I'm trying to do is to basically add users to permission groups. So I do have some permission groups here, and you can see I've made edits to admin, I've made edits to contingent workers. So I've set multiple groups to pending, trying to automate those groups. And some of those automations have gone through successfully. We can see in the screenshot that those actions have completed correctly. However, here's where we start to get some of those errors, as we can see as the error example group was being created, there are some errors there, and partly we can see that there is something wrong with trying to add Anya Singh and Michael Jordan to this group. When we view in on this, we can see that Anya Singh does not exist in that error group, and nor does Michael Jordan. So the bot takes a screenshot of exactly where that error takes place. And then it's easy to also see from within the workbook. So we can see that this group actually was created successfully, as in CodeBot's going to go through and accomplish as much of the task as it can. As you can see, it was able to add myself and other members from our team. However, when it actually went through to create the instructions exactly as they are mapped in the workbook, there were a couple areas where the validation doesn't line up. The bot goes through and highlights in the workbook where that validation lines up, letting you know that's where your error is. So if you wanted to run this more successfully, you'd either have to add Michael Jordan and Anya Singh as users to this group, or delete them from the expression values and then try to rerun the action. Let's go take a look at this action here. I have a couple different actions that I've run, including this is a start configuration. You might see something like this. I've stopped this record. You might get a no pending record in the workbook. That just means that you've tried to run a configuration without setting any object to pending. The fix there is pretty simple. Stop the action using the hamburger menu. You might have to click stop 3 or 4 times. Stop doesn't usually register right away. And then go ahead, re-enter the workbook and set an item to pending. The other thing I wanted to show here was a data issue. So this is an action that I ran, and we can see unable to find a custom object, and then later unable to find that same object. And here's a screenshot showing that the bot is unable to actually see that object from within the instance. And part of why is because it was unable to create it based on something that was incorrect in the workbook itself. And so to fix this, I went to where I went in the workbook. I could see that secured was set to no, and I just flipped that over to yes in the workbook, allowing the bot to proceed. And that's what allowed me to then run that action again and create a new object. So that was in this MDF object. The bot was able to, in the error message, let me know that in column Q, if I wanted that action to run successfully, I just switch from yes to no. So sometimes we're able to give the details of what actually was incorrect in that data issue, so that then you can rerun it, and you can see I rerun it in a different version up top here. And in this second tracking request ID, we see that I'm able to run that successfully. All right, let's look at another error type here. This is something that I see often in my scheduled actions. I'll see something like completed with permission issue. Some people get nervous that that means that the bot didn't execute correctly. Just because this status indicates something that doesn't say complete doesn't mean that it's not up to date. So what you can do is, this is what we mean by analyze the tracking request ID workbook and instance, is to open the eye icon on any action that you need more details of. These colors are indicating what happened here. So I can tell that in all the other actions, we have items set to green, and then in purple is where our error or our warning is. So what you'll do is flip through these tracking request IDs and see if you can find the warning. And it's going to be in MDF object fields, so it's going to be somewhere in this tracking request ID. As I scroll through, there, we can see it here. This object, we get a little MDF object screen is not visible. I'll view the screenshot, and we see that it's kind of like a blank loading screen. This is an example of the bot just sort of slowing down on one of the MDF objects. And we can see because the warning is in between the same object on the same page, that's a good indication that the workbook is up to date fully. So if it's the same object on the same page, or if it goes from page 21 to page 22, both of those cases indicate to me that the workbook is up to date, and you don't need to run this workbook again. You can ignore that this is a permission issue. It's not. The bot thought that it was a permission issue when it was really just a screen loading issue. That's an easy mistake for the bot to make, right? Because it interprets the blank screen as success factor saying you don't have access, when really what happened is just a slow loading time. So again, I would interpret this as a completed workbook and a non-error. Let's show you another one as well here. So this is an example of a general issue, and we can see again we have in these colors we can tell that things like RBP roles permissions completed successfully, but we have something in groups and permission groups. And so again, I always recommend that you'll open the workbook itself and take a look. So if you scroll down through this workbook or through the instance, we can see that there are some groups with invalid data here and 0 records in particular groups. Always open the workbook and click through to see. As we can see, yes, groups did not complete successfully, but permission groups did. So in this case, what I would do is I would request reprocess and run this bot again and see if on the second time that we run it, was it able to actually pick up something in groups, or is there something that we need to fix on the instance setup side? So speaking of, to check the instance, which is really the second part, What I recommend users do is, particularly if you are a company admin, go ahead and jump into the admin settings here. Go find your instance. We're looking at this 443 instance. Edit the instance details and just run these bottom two tests again. So you'll test OData credentials and you'll test SF API credentials. Make sure that both of those are still correct. You may get errors if you don't have the credentials correct, or if you don't have the correct permissions for those users. The last thing that I would recommend is always available to you, no matter what, is you can reach out to us and submit a ticket. So this is what the vast majority of CodeBot users do. You may need help getting CRISP whitelisted if you don't see this chat icon. However, you are always welcome to, if you do see this chat icon, copy and paste the tracking request ID to us in this chat. And someone from our team will respond and give you the latest update. You don't even have to add any context, just copy paste the tracking request ID and submit it. And you can see the very first response back from us includes our office hours here. So you can click through each of these. This first one is my personal office hours, then Muhammad Ali, then Natasha's. We work in different time zones and have kind of scheduled our days so that we try to cover just about every time zone and accommodation for you. So if you don't see a time that aligns, please reach out and we're happy to set up a call for you. Lastly, the article search also is a good way for you to kind of see what's available to you. There's one other thing, which is that sometimes a workbook will deprecate. So when you see a deprecated workbook, you'll see that, like if I go to my monthly schedules, some of these older workbooks are in this dark gray. That means is that we've had to make some sort of change to the way that the workbook is structured inside the spreadsheet, essentially. So to undeprecate a workbook, click Request Reprocess on the hamburger menu so that you get that back from whatever status it is to ready to go. And once an object is ready to go, what you can do is select this Upgrade Workbook option. Upgrade Workbook is just going to take whatever your previous action is just going to take the previous version of the workbook, update the general settings. Usually that just means column order or adding a new column, and that will bring it up to the latest version of that spreadsheet. All right, thank you so much for watching.